Collide is a movie that opened up in around 2,000 theaters, yet somehow barely anyone really knows about it, so I saw it, and I'm reviewing it for you guys. But really, what this movie's about is Nicholas Hoult plays a guy who lives in Cologne, Germany, and he's living the drug dealer life until he meets Felicity Jones, and he realizes, oh my gosh, she's the one for me, so he kind of gives up the drug dealer life until, oh no, Felicity Jones needs another kidney, and they realize they can't afford it on their salaries, so he has to go back to the drug dealing life. He's going to steal some drugs from Anthony Hopkins because Ben Kingsley told him to do so, but then some things go wrong and then we get an exciting action movie afterwards. Honestly, I did not watch the trailer for this movie. I knew of its existence. I saw it on the coming soon on Movie Insider and IMDb and all of that, but I had never watched the trailer for this movie, and I was really hoping to see Get Out last weekend. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to because it's rated R and I'm not 17 yet and I can't get in without parents' permission. The parents didn't want to see it. You know that whole thing. So I was like, well, I gotta see a movie this weekend. I mean, I got to. And I didn't really want to watch Rock Dog in theaters. I mean, it's kind of like watching Norm of the North in theaters. Just kind of embarrassing, I think. So I decided, well, I guess I can check out Collide. I mean, I haven't seen a single trailer for it, but you know what? Whatever. I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna hope that it turns out to be surprising. And it wasn't. The best way I could describe this movie is that it is the cheapest version of the Transporter that I think we've ever gotten. Because this movie kind of sets itself up as like this exciting car chase movie with a lot of cars going boom boom and a chase on an Autobahn. It's gonna be so cool, guys. But there's really only two cool moments in these car chases, and those two moments are my only pluses with the movie. There's one shot involving like a continuous shot of Nicholas Hoult driving, and there's just a bunch of crap happening all around him, but the camera never cuts, and I was like, if they keep this up for the entire scene, this might be the best thing about this whole movie. They cut that though, but at least they had a continuous shot for about 30 seconds. Another cool moment in the action sequence was one car flip and crash. That's it. And even with that cool car flip and crash, they showed it from one angle and then showed it again from a different angle, which I find extremely annoying, especially with this movie. They do that multiple times in this movie. Not only is it just quick cuts everywhere, you have like 2 seconds of just one shot, and then you'll cut to the outside of a car, and then cut to over here, cut over here, cut over here, cut over here. Just constant jumps that don't get you engaged in what's happening in the story, what's happening in the moment. It's just, oh look, audience, flashy cuts everywhere, da 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 da. And of course you have that amazing score of or my personal favorite beat. The first time they played that score in the movie, I was like, oh my god, they are not even trying to hide the fact that they're cheap. It's just that generic action movie score accompanying generic action movie things, even the car chase scenes. One of my favorite action scenes to see, like, on screen is a car chase, because instead of just people punching each other, there's driving and there's other people involved. In this movie, they somehow managed to make the car chase sequences really boring, and then there are some times where they will have, like, a foot chase. I think pretty much the only action scenes in this movie are chases. I honestly can't think of, like, one fist fight. I mean, there's one fight, but it's just a guy hitting another guy over the head with something, and then Nicholas Hoult, like, tricks someone by stabbing him, but you never see the stab because it's PG-13. The action is so dull in this movie, and that's so upsetting because this is an action movie. And since they don't have much substance going on with its characters or story, they kind of have to rely on these action scenes, and it's not doing them any favors. And speaking of the plot, it's just a generic, hey, you're a drug dealer, go steal these drugs for me. Oh, now you're on the run because things got messy. Like, that's so generic. And the only thing that would save them from this generic plot were some really cool, intense action sequences that maybe, just maybe, were competently edited and shot, but nah. Who needs to put effort into their movies? We can just copy off of all the other great action movies and make our own generic pile of ugh. And even when it's just trying to be a plain movie with no special action scenes, the direction here and the editing is just so confusing. Like, there's ADR up the butt in this movie, and I noticed it right away when they're, like, Felicity Jones and Nicholas Hoult first meet at this party, and Nicholas Hoult comes up, and by the way, both Felicity Jones and Nicholas Hoult are British, but they both play Americans in Cologne, Germany, so it was really funny for me to just have Nicholas Hoult come up ADR going, oh, it's really nice to see another American around here in Cologne, Germany, and as soon as Felicity Jones said something, I was like, that isn't Felicity Jones. Like, it does not sound like an American accent Felicity Jones. And I was like, okay, maybe it's just the atmosphere. They're surrounded by tons of people. Okay, maybe the next scene it'll get better when things are a little quiet. Well, in the next 20 seconds, they cut to a scene where they're talking to each other at a bar, and still, somehow, the voice that Felicity Jones was projecting did not sound like Felicity Jones, and it honestly didn't seem like it was matching up to her at all. There's literally a scene where there's a close-up. Actually, you know what? It was like this. It was like a shot of Felicity Jones like this, except a little more closer. And she's supposed to be saying something, and you hear a line of dialogue coming out, but instead it just looks like that. Her lips, I am convinced, did not move. They didn't move, yet you hear dialogue. And they tried to hide it by making her do this. You can't hide that from me! And in that same conversation, by the way, the camera work, I don't know what they were thinking. Not only was it just too, like, obnoxious during the action scenes, but there's some moments where all of a sudden they'll be focusing on a character, but then the focus will just shift to, like, their shoulder, and then it'll just focus on the things behind them. And I was like, that is such an easy fix. Just have these people, like, front and center, or have the camera locked down instead of, like, this handheld thing, so that you can actually get a clear shot. Like, this can't be hard. And the editing, as I mentioned earlier, the action scenes are just frenetically edited in the worst way possible, but there's one scene in this movie that always gets under my skin when thinking about it as far as editing. There's a scene where Nicholas Hoult comes back from work, and he's like, oh, hey, honey, and then, you know, that kind of thing. He sits down, and Felicity Jones starts walking in, he goes, hey, honey, what you been up to? And then she walks in going, hey, sits in his lap, and he goes, hey, then they make out. And then they talk about other things. Even though Nicholas Hoult just asked her, what have you been doing? And she says, hey, a movie studio let that pass and allowed that to be put in theaters. I don't get it. This is literally the thing that bugged me the most when thinking back about the movie, because it was so distracting when I saw it. I was like, wait, Nicholas Hoult, you asked her a question, she didn't answer it, and throughout the rest of the movie I was just like, this is the biggest concern I'm having. With all of the intense action scenes going on, I'm still thinking about why Felicity Jones never answered that question. And speaking of the characters, I guess I gotta talk about them for some reason. Nicholas Hoult is generic action doer who loves doing the right thing for his loved one. That's pretty much it, and he's also really clever because near the end of the movie he reveals something to the audience that you totally are supposed to buy, and the writers totally didn't make it up at the last second because they realized the movie didn't make sense. And that's another thing. Later on in the plot, the movie tries to get clever by revealing some twist, but it's something that no one would have been able to pick up on earlier unless they literally stated it near the end of the movie, which leads me to believe that this wasn't originally in the script, and they just made it up to so it would make sense. Felicity Jones, I was really disappointed in her, honestly. More disappointed than when I saw her in Inferno. This is an actress who's going places. She has gone places after The Theory of Everything. She was really good in that. And then she was in A Monster Calls, terrific performance. And then Rogue One. She is a great actress. Yet in this movie, she dyed her hair blonde, got audio dubbed by someone not her, and was just a damsel in distress. Like, I honestly have no idea why Felicity Jones was in this movie, when clearly she had so many other things going on that are much better for her. I mean, this is even worse than Inferno, for Christ's sake. I would rather her be in Inferno now than seeing her in this. Anthony Hopkins looks like he could care less about this movie. There's one scene where he's supposed to be interrogating someone. Hannibal Lecter is supposed to be interrogating someone, and when he comes in there, he just talks like this. I'm going to say something that's supposed to threaten you now. And maybe I'll raise my voice and then quiet back down. I'm Anthony Hopkins. I am a great actor, and I signed this movie because, well, I need money for my timeshare. And now I'm going to graciously leave this scene and then show up about 30 minutes later into the movie to remind you that I am in the movie. I'm the villain. Which is kind of stupid because he's like this drug lord who's seen as like this upstanding citizen, yet there's a scene where he gets his hands dirty by going to a gas station and shooting the place up. You know, there's security cameras that could catch you, like, not such an upstanding citizen. Like, he's even the owner of this business, yet, like, he's doing stuff like this leads me to believe that his character would have done something like this earlier, but would have been caught. This is why you have goons do things for you when you're a drug lord, so that you don't get caught and you can continue running your stuff. At least that's what I've learned from other movies. But by far, the most embarrassing thing about this movie, every time this actor came on, I was like, dear God, no, get him out of there. Ben frickin' Kingsley as this guy, this drug dealer with a weird accent. I don't know what he was doing. It didn't seem like he was bored like Anthony Hopkins, but this is so embarrassing. It's humiliating. I mean, the first scene of him is him sitting down and women just kind of surrounding him, and he's watching a John Travolta movie, and Jamie Lee Curtis, I don't know what the movie's called, but he's watching it saying, like, it's such a great movie, should have won Best Picture. And there's this running gag with him where he's calling Nicholas Hoult Burt Reynolds, and he says, you could light a match off of Burt Reynolds' body because he's so perfect, and I was just like, why are you doing this, Ben? Why are you obsessing over Burt Reynolds? By far the most humiliating thing, though, was when all of a sudden he's just walking through, like, a horse stable, and all of a sudden his favorite song comes on or something, and he's like, oh, I've got to dance now, and he starts dancing. Like the music, like, gets louder in, like, the surround sound, and Ben Kingsley's just dancing, and Nicholas Holt's, like, walking behind him, like, what's happening here? It was honestly, actually, you know what? That was really incredible. Incredibly embarrassing. Holy schmite. Guys, I do not recommend you watch Collide. It is a generic action movie. In fact, I might have been the only one who actually took the time to go out and see this movie because everyone else was seeing the much better Get Out. I'm jealous of you. You're able to see that while I'm stuck watching Collide. I'm gonna give Collide a D-. It's a generic action film that fails on many levels. It is so horrible. I don't know how this is going to compare later on in the year, but it doesn't really matter because most people are probably gonna forget about this movie after this review. But if you are one of those people that did see Collide like myself, leave it in the comments below what you thought of it. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.